General Robert E. Lee was born on January 19, 1807, even though some of his letters suggest he was born the previous year. He was born at the Stratford Plantation in Westmoreland County, Virginia. Henry Lee was General Lee's great-grandfather. Henry Lee was a Virginian colonist, which meant Lee's family was one of the oldest in Virginia. The oldest record of his family in Virginia is of Richard Lee, who came to Virginia from England in the early 1600s. His family included the signers of the Declaration of Independence, a President of the United States, and a Chief Justice. Robert's mother, Anne Hill Carter Lee, was a very soft-spoken and shy woman. She had black hair and a dark complexion. She grew up on Shirley plantations. We know very little about General Lee's relationship with his father, Henry Light Horse Larry Lee. Robert's father served as the 9th governor of Virginia and was also the representative of Virginia in the United States Congress. Robert E. Lee was a man of small words when it came to his father, so there is little that we know about his childhood and their relationship. Robert's father left the family when he was young, so we know nothing of their relationship except for the fact that Robert addressed him once in a letter when he was older, but he did not say much about him. General Lee wrote a letter when he was 16 years old that jump-started his military career. This letter was addressed to a man by the name of John C. Calhoun. This letter consisted of Robert asking to be admitted to the West Point Military Academy. John Calhoun graciously accepted him but was not able to find a spot for him until a year later because of all the cadets lined up in front of him. So General Robert E. Lee began his military journey by entering West Point Military Academy at age 17 in the summer of 1825. General Lee graduated second in his class without one demerit and got perfect scores in artillery, infantry, and cavalry. The cadet who finished in front of General Lee resigned from the military 1 year after graduation, so General Lee was the most qualified and educated military leader on the battlefield. Directly following his graduation from West Point Military Academy, he went back to Virginia to find his mother close to death. He stayed with her a couple weeks and then she finally died on July 26, 1829. General Lee did not have much time to grieve, however, because in August of 1829, he was ordered to help in the construction of Fort Pulaski, but was later sent to Fort Monroe instead in Hampton, Virginia. That summer, while on leave, he met his bride-to-be. Her name was Mary Curtis. Mary Curtis was the great-granddaughter and only surviving granddaughter of Martha Washington. Mary was also General Robert E. Lee's third cousin. Her godmother, Mary Randolph, was the first person to ever be buried at Arlington National Cemetery. After only being able to court her a short while, he was given orders to go to Georgia. Before he set out following his commands, he asked for permission to write to her and was granted what he wished. When he returned to her, he asked her for her father's hand in marriage. The first time he asked, her father rejected him because General Lee's father had been in jail and he thought it was a disgrace. However, eventually General Lee won him over and he accepted their engagement, and the two were married at the Custis Estate in Arlington County, Virginia. Together they had 7 children: Rooney Custis, Rob, Annie, Mary, Agnes, and Mildred. Everyone in the family except for Lee lived on Mary's father's plantation. General Lee had to make a decision that would affect the country forever. This decision was whether or not he would stick with his homeland and the homeland of his ancestors in the South and fight for them, which he did. President Abraham Lincoln even offered General Lee a position as commander of the Union Army, which he declined. Robert E. Lee served as senior military advisor under President Jefferson Davis, and from then he rose to be a battlefield commander. Lee was away on military obligations throughout his life. His first military appearance was when the United States went to war with Mexico, serving under Winfield Scott. In the aftermath, Lee was acknowledged as a hero, and the government took out a life insurance policy on the commander. Life on the battlefield got too hard for Lee, so he returned to his wife's plantation to manage it for 2 long years. In 1859, Lee returned to the Army in the cavalry position in Texas, and his name was put on a short list of names led to lead the Union Army if the country ever went to war. Lee turned down Abraham Lincoln's offer to lead the Union soldiers once again. He returned home to Virginia and eventually agreed to lead the Confederate forces. Lee proved to himself when he pushed the Union Army up northern Virginia and won the Battle of Second Manassas. Not everything went well, though. He just escaped at the bloody Battle of Antietam. In it, nearly 14,000 of his men were captured, wounded, or killed. On September 28, 1870, General Robert E. Lee was put in critical condition after suffering from a stroke.
Robert E. Lee was born January 19, 1807 in Virginia. In June of 1829, he graduated from West Point and was one of only 6 people without any demerits. In November of 1829, he was appointed to the Corps of Engineers and was responsible for building locks and dams along the Mississippi River. In August of 1846, he joined General Scott in the Mexican-American War. By the end, General Scott learned to lean on him for his mathematical genius and the ability to do strategy. October of 1859, Lee suppresses the John Brown raid at Harper's Ferry. Then came the Civil War, where he had numerous accomplishments. On April 6, 1865, Lee signs the surrender documents, ending the Civil War. April 15th, Lee moves his family to Richmond, Virginia. And October 12th of 1870, he had a severe stroke and died with his family.